Ta-da! Hello! Hello, everybody who's watching, and hello, Jason. Thank you for joining us for our DM deep dive for D&D in a Castle. I'm Tara, founder of D&D in a Castle, and it's my excellent pleasure today to be speaking with vampire extraordinaire, Jason Carl. Welcome, Jason.
Hi, thank you very much, Tara. I'm very happy to be back here with you. I love talking with you about D&D in a Castle and what we're doing there. I look forward to these little chats that we have. Quite a lot, actually. So
Yeah,
thank
they
you
always
very
go so
much.
quickly.
They go, it's so fast.
So fast. Well, let's get right into it then. Jason, you are a longtime dungeon master for D&D in a Castle. You've been running games for us really since 2019, I believe was your first ever experience
I
with
think you're
us.
right. Am I that
Yeah,
old?
I've lost count of how many games you've actually run, but that's at least 6 years of running games.
Oh,
And you're coming back to game with us this
yes.
year and to game for a bunch of lucky players.
Mhm.
So primarily, we're here today to talk about D&D in a Castle, and we'll get to the other stuff you're doing in a minute. But you are coming to D&D in a Castle this November in the UK to run 2 games of D&D for 2 different groups of, I think, 6 each at your
Mhm.
table. So the first game is November 3rd to 7th, and then November 10 to 14. And I
Yes.
will share now for the viewers that both of those games are full, and you cannot game with Jason Carl at D&D in a Castle. If you want to game
Not
with
this
Jason
year.
Carl,
Not this
not
year.
this year, exactly. If you want to game with Jason Carl at D&D in a Castle or any of our other events, I highly recommend getting yourself on the mailing list and picking up a deposit, which are on sale right now. Our deposits are on sale right now. They're $150 off, so
Okay.
you get $1,000
Convenient.
credit for
Nice.
$850 right now. 1 deposit per registration. Yes, so that's my plug, but I would love you to tell us about, let's start with the first one, which is called the Wings of Omen. That's
The
what you're running
Wings
November
of
3rd
Omen.
to
I
7th.
am.
So
That is
let's hear
my
a little bit
first
about your
one.
campaign. Mhm.
Okay, well, I will tell you only a very little bit because I have been informed, my bats have told me that some of my Wings of Omen players might be in the chat today. So
Yeah,
fair
no
game if
spoilers
you
then.
are. If you want to ask questions, just remember that your characters can get what they said they wanted and still not be happy. So with that advice, we are going to the world of Theros, which is an official D&D campaign world inspired by Greek mythology. I am, as will come as no surprise to you, Tara, a really aficionado of myths from all around the world, myths and legends. I like reading about them. I like imagining how we interpret them in Dungeons and Dragons. And so this year I've decided to make Wings of Omen a dark mythology story. It's a story about, frankly, it's a story about the hubris of the gods and mortal defiance of fate. Can you change your fate? Can you affect what the gods have decreed for you? And what happens if you do? That's where we're going to go for this story. It starts on the island of Thrace. It opens with the Great Summer Games. So there'll be a mythology inspired arena games opportunity for the players to get involved in. From there, where it goes will depend on the player choices. I'm a huge believer in offering as much player agency as possible at my table. I don't know where the story ends. I only know where it starts. And I see my role as the dungeon master in this and all my stories as interpreting the world and giving the players exciting decision points and choices that they get full control over. And then we see what happens. I'm actually looking forward to this campaign in particular because I've never had a chance to play in Theros before. I've read the books, I've thought about it, maybe done a little dreaming, but this is my first opportunity to tell a story in this mythology inspired world.
Very nice. I love it. So yeah, I know that you are interested in sort of epic worlds. I know you have
Always,
an
always.
interest in Wars of the Roses. I know you've done some gaming
We
around
talked about
that.
that.
I know,
Yeah.
and I know the Roman Empire is something you're interested in. So
Mhm.
grand, historic, epic.
Oh, I think yes. As a matter of fact, some of my other inspirations at the moment. I'm currently working on an idea to make a Roman Empire-esque D&D campaign, and a campaign story maybe for next year's castle inspired by the Arthurian mythos. I call it Dark Arthurian. So
Oh,
we'll
I
see
love
about that,
that.
or maybe at a different D&D in a Castle event.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to follow up with you on that as we start planning other events. I see some people in the chat saying hello, including, I think I saw some of our DMs, our Dungeon Masters, maybe popping in.
Oh, hello, colleagues.
Hello, friends, all friends. If you have any questions for me or for Jason, do pop them in the chat and we will get to them. Whether it's about the castle, whether it's about Jason and his career or the campaigns or anything to do with anything we're talking about today, jump in with your questions, comments, and I'd love to pass them on to Jason to address. The second campaign that you're running this autumn, this fall, from November 10 to 14 is called Blood and Salt. So what is that campaign all about?
For that campaign, we return to my beloved Ravenloft campaign setting, another official D&D campaign setting from Wizards of the Coast, near and dear to my undead vampiric heart. I think I've told more D&D stories or led more D&D campaigns in Ravenloft than any other setting. I think there's something wonderful about each of the settings, something to love about all of them, but that one always draws me back time and time again because, of course, I love stories of personal horror and terror. And the domain of dread offers a lot of chances to create together kinds of stories that are a little outside the typical D&D campaign, although I do those as well too, and I love them equally. In this particular campaign, Blood and Salt, the players, and I don't know if they're listening or will see this, so I better be circumspect, they will find themselves thrust into a terrible dark situation. Gosh, what a surprise! Going to Ravenloft, and they will find themselves caught between two warring vampire pirate lords who are fighting over a stretch of coastline called the Sable Coast, and the player characters will decide who wins this struggle and who prevails and what the future of the Sable Coast is. We've got vampires, we've got pirates, so I guess that means it's a vampirates story. And in this particular story, our flag means undeath. So I think the players will have their work cut out for them. They have an opportunity to be heroes. They could save this place, but maybe they'd rather be in charge instead. I don't know. Again, I set up the situation. We offer the opportunities to engage with these pirate lords, to explore the Sable Coast, figure out where they see themselves in the outcome. What they choose is up to them. So they can expect swashbuckling vampire pirate D&D excitement. If anyone who actually swings from a rope from one ship to the other, that's instant inspiration right there.
That's great. And now, as I mentioned, both of these campaigns are currently full. One of them is full with returning guests. So a lot of our guests come and play with a particular dungeon master, fall in love with that dungeon master's game and style and their fellow players, and they just want to come and do it all again. And so this is, I think,
that's okay too.
You're one of those dungeon masters that happens to quite a bit. So tell us about your group that you've got that keeps coming back for more, Jason, Carl. Who are they? What are they like?
These I admire these players so much. They truly. I think some of them are in the chat. It's a table that.
I don't know if I've frozen or you have.
First played with me.
It seems Jason is freezing up a little bit as we're just hearing about his players. We're coming in and out a little bit while we're waiting for that to clear up. I'm going to share a little bit about the castle.
Did it come back?
Fall. Oh, are we back? Are we back? Yes, we lost you for a minute there.
I'm so
Jason.
sorry.
That's okay.
I think the power of the gods in Theros were just too great. They know what we're planning, and they know that these particular players will defy them, and so they reached out from that particular plane to freeze our network. Actually, I think my internet dropped for a moment. So
Either way,
my explanation is better. I'm so sorry. Tell us about those players. These players first came to my table several years ago. I decided to reinterpret the Curse of Strahd campaign, the classic, the original, as a seaborne adventure, the coast of Strahd, if you will. And we had an extraordinary time. They taught me things about Dungeons and Dragons and role playing that I had never encountered before. Their level of buy-in and commitment to the story and to engaging with it in such a novel way was really impressive. It really certainly won whatever is left of my heart. And they're incredible. And now we make a point to try to share a campaign together every year. At the castle last year, they went to the Feywild for the Grand Masquerade Ball of the Autumn Queen in the domain of Eternal Autumn. That was quite amazing. And again, they completely overwhelmed me with their innovation, with their generosity to each other as players at the table, which is so important to having a good story, with the care that they have for each other and each other's comfort and safety at the table. Amazing. And this year, I get to put them through the ringer at the grand games of Theros, and we'll see what the gods have in store for them. I can't really say enough good things about these wonderful people.
And do you find
plus they bring me wine gums, which is my favorite British candy. So I mean, I'm not. We're all bribable. All DMs, everyone listening, all DMs are bribable, and you would be surprised at how shockingly low our minimum bribe level is. For me, it's wine gums. So
yeah,
keep that in mind.
Andy, always welcome at D&D.
Oh yeah, when you join us at D&D in a Castle, I encourage you, once you meet your DM for session 0, which happens immediately after you get off the bus, that you arrive at the castle, you meet all the DMs en masse as a group. Tara will be there to say hello and welcome you. The first thing we do, of course, is we walk together to our session 0 to begin. I advise you at that point to find out what the minimum bribe level is. Make that part of your session 0. Yeah, and it's a great experience. I always love the opening ceremony, the arrival ceremony.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun making a moment of arriving at the Grand Castle. We are very big on ceremony at D&D in a Castle, to really mark that divide between the outside world and the fantasy of the castle. I do have some comments here, and no questions yet, but just some lovely comments from the people watching. Jason Carl is the best. Honestly, though, he's amazing. Oh my God, yes, Jason really is such a great DM. Would so recommend to anyone who wants to play role-play driven. I'm getting more and more role-play driven games. Always loved his
I'm clearly not making their characters suffer enough, if that's the kind of comment we get.
People are gluttons for punishment in a game, man. If they didn't want to be punished, why would they be playing D&D? Really, the worlds you create are so easy to fall in love with. 100 out of 10 would recommend. So, given that you're all booked up, I'm gonna share a little bit of info for the people watching, and then we'll get your comments on those things as well. One is about Castle Days. So we have just, or are about to open, we're about to send that information to even all the guests. So the guests, actually the guests should have, be getting this information right away, that those people who are registered at any game or either round of D&D in a Castle this fall, this autumn in November, are welcome to register also for our little bonus event, which is called Castle Days, which we created based on guest demand for some more time at the castle. So it's an optional set of days between the rounds. I think it's 3 nights and 2 full days where you can register to stay on site, includes all your meals, and we usually put on some kind of programming. And it's a chance to get to interact with the DMs during that time, because they will be on site waiting for the next round. So their downtime, you have an opportunity to meet them, interact with them, sometimes even learn a little bit about dungeon mastering from them. Sometimes we put on workshops and panels and Q&As and opportunities to get some time outside of the game with the dungeon masters, which is really lovely. B. Dave is just saying cough, gummies, cough, cough. Yeah, gummies all around. I think gummies are always a good choice.
They really are, and they are good for all time zones, which is really cool.
Yeah, so even if you can't come and play in one of Jason's game, if you are playing in any game in the fall, you will still get to hang out with Jason, and he may even drop into one of your games. We usually give people the opportunity during Castle Days to run a game of their own. You can offer to run a game for your fellow guests and players, and we invite the dungeon masters, if they wish, to drop in on those and experience the games of the guests. So you could potentially even get to run a game for Jason Carl, which and I'm sure he will be very kind about being in your game and a good player.
Actually,
because they do offer.
I was about to say, let's not get carried away, Tara. But yes, I mean, we all want feedback, and we all want to improve our skills. Everyone comes at dungeon mastering. Everyone who sits behind the screen comes at dungeon mastering from a different place, and there are things that we're good at and things that we need help with. I'm no exception. There are things that I'm good at and things that I struggle to improve. And I think having feedback from a dungeon master who's been in the space, who's done it professionally, who is eager to share that knowledge, I think it's invaluable, really. Everybody who participated in that last year, I think, really loved it and came away with something valuable about their game that they could immediately take home and work on and improve and try. And I'm looking forward to it again. And I wish I could sit in on all of them, but that's not really possible. So I will sit in on as many as I can.
If somebody was thinking about coming to D&D in a Castle, and they were looking at our roster of dungeon masters, and there's a lot of different campaigns that are on offer. They're all different, and they, as you say, everybody comes at dungeon mastering from
so many
different angle and with different strengths. How would you recommend somebody approach choosing their dungeon master and their campaign at D&D in a Castle?
Wow. When you think about the incredible array of dungeon master talent that sits behind the screens, it's hard to make a bad choice. I don't think it's possible. You're going to have a great time regardless of which dungeon master that you're sitting with. They all are professionals. They are absolute masters of this craft. They approach it with care. They approach it with passion. And they're going to deliver an experience that is unique, impossible to get anywhere else, and will be memorable for you. That said, I think it's very important to look at the Dungeon Master biographies that are available on the D&DinACastle.com website. There's a biography for every Dungeon Master that informs you who they are, what they like to do, what they consider their strengths and weaknesses are, what their interests are, and also their descriptions, of course, of the campaigns, which will give you some idea of what the overall approach to the story will be. And that's really valuable information. But you can also, of course, take a look around at many of these DMs who are very active online. You can see what kind of games they've run before. And if you still have questions, if you're still not sure, the D&D in a Castle team, Tara, Justin, Jennifer, Evie, everybody is incredibly helpful at helping people on board for the first time, matching you up to the right table, making sure you get the best experience possible and come home feeling like you can't wait to do this again. I mean, I could say something wonderful about each and every DM, and I will if you want me to in the time we have left. But really quickly, if you are looking for high level, world spanning, possibly world shattering, level 20 face off against the gods adventure, I mean, that would be B. Dave Walters, right? Obviously, he's famous for that style of game. No one does it better. No one best ever to do that style of game. And if that's what your jam is, or if you just want to try it, that's the table you need to be at. If you like intricate puzzles and mysteries and conundrums and enigmas and things that will tease your brain and force you to work together to solve them at the table, especially if you like them combined with real world props and setups, that would be Elisa Teague. Obviously, she's the puzzle queen of our castle experience. Myra Stritter is going to bring you some incredibly difficult and strange dark horror. Guy Sklanders is going to challenge you with really difficult environmental situations, explorations, clever combat setups that you might not have thought of before. And of course, he's a master of the skill set. So anytime you want to learn how to improve your basic D&D skills, or in some particular area, you'd be at Guy's table. Jasper Cartwright, I think, is going to be there this fall with us. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I don't know anyone who crafts their NPCs with more care than Jasper does. Well, I find it hard to believe that you can make a bad choice if you see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Kelly Lynn D'Angelo will be there, I'm certain. Clint McElroy will be there.
Yeah.
Jim Zub, Chris Hamasu, I think, is London coming? London Carlisle?
Yeah, London is coming. Yep.
Yeah. So all these
we've got a lot of
bring
great
cool
people.
things to the table.
Yeah, I think Jim Zub and Clint McElroy, both a little more like playful. I think their games are just going to be absolute pure chaos and fun. Both have a comic book background, actually, and they're two that sort of come to mind. And it shows. You want to play in like a comic universe, like bring it on. That's and both huge names in the industry too. Jim Zub having written D&D comics, and Clint McElroy being Adventure Zone, and my brother and me, and all of the all the McElroy family, the godfather of the whole shebang. So both of those also really lot of fun. And I think you were at the castle with them in the fall. Were they both were there?
I was, yeah, I did. I had a wonderful opportunity to talk with to Clint at length about his approach to DMing, to storytelling, about how he weaves, humor at the table, but still manages to bring in a little pathos where it's appropriate. His love of the game, his joy in sharing these stories and creating them together. Jim Zub, personal hero from his comic book work. His writing is incredible. He collaborated on so many great titles. He's got a really cool approach at the table that mixes up the D&D of today with some very old school ideas about story structure and game structure. And his absolute glee at springing these conundrums and traps on players is really something to behold.
Yeah, I mean, he's an old school player and just so much fun to hang out with. Like, you just kind of want to hang out with him all day, right?
I mean, I wish that one of the very few, I think, regrets that every DM has coming to D&D in a castle is that we don't actually get even more time to hang out with each other. I come away learning something new about DMing, about D&D, about storytelling from my players and my fellow DMs, my colleagues there. I really think it's one of the best things about the experience.
I agree. We're careful to pick really great people to come to D&D in a Castle, people that everybody just wants to be around. So we're coming up to the end of our interview. I just want to read a couple of, I know I told you they always go so quickly because there's just so much to say, but I do want to read some of the lovely comments that people are sending in and just take a moment to acknowledge. Jason's epic way to tell a dark and serious story is what got me into role playing many years ago. Never stop creating, sending all the love from Germany.
Germany. Tara, may I just respond to that? If you've ever been inspired by a DM at the castle or anywhere, please take the time to be as kind as Christoph just has been. It means everything to us when someone says that something we did has inspired them to create their own story and share them with other people. I don't think there's a higher compliment. So thank you very much.
Yeah. We have another comment.
That and wine gums. So yeah.
That and wine gums. Yeah, wine gums and compliments. How about both? Amazing. Send presents.
Let's not get carried away.
I hope I can make it to one of these events one day. It seems so fun and interesting. It really is so much fun. Cannot stress that you are correct about that if you're able to make it. Every GM at the castle is incredibly welcoming, and one of my favorite elements of visiting the castle is just spending time with such imaginative, engaging, and inspiring individuals. And I would extend that to the guests as well. Our guests are also amazing, welcoming, wonderful human beings, and it's such a vibe at the castle. Everybody's just happy to be there and happy that you're there and keen to talk about D&D.
It's extraordinary. It's wonderful. Everybody gets a chance to really focus exclusively on this amazing experience, right? There are no distractions. It's just this, it's a short span of time. It's a slice of time, but you're so focused on the game, the good fellowship, the community, the environment, all the other cares of the world melt away. They'll be there, later. That's fine. But for that brief, it is a charmed time. And I know that Tara, exactly what I mean by that. It is a charmed time. And I wish that everybody could take advantage of it. If you can, I really encourage you to do that. Come share this charmed time with us.
Absolutely. I have one affirmation of that. I wouldn't say it's an affirming experience. Like, oh yes, there is joy, there is kindness, there is community. All these things really do exist. And then we go back and fight the dragons of our reality. This person says, I met some of the most amazing people at the castle, some of which have now become some of my best friends. The experiences there and at Jason's table are memories I'll cherish forever. So what better note to end on? We have about 1 minute left, and I'm going to invite you, Jason. I'm going to bring up one last topic, one last chance that people have to get in on a game with Jason, Carl, and some of our other amazing Dungeon Masters, which is at Gen Con. So if you didn't know, D&D in a Castle is going to be at Gen Con. Our Dungeon Masters are going to be running games for Gen Con guests, and you can sign up for spots, I believe now, on the Gen Con site. And one of those amazing people you can play with is indeed our very own Jason Carl. So I'm going to ask you, Jason, to take us out of this interview with an invitation to the guests or to the viewers to come and check out D&D in a Castle with our Dungeon Masters or with you at Gen Con this year.
Absolutely, Tara. You are 100% correct. That is happening. We will be there. I will be there. The dice will be there. We're waiting for you. The official D&D vacation is joining forces with Wizards of the Coast at Gen Con. So we invite you to roll the dice with us, experience what these world-class Dungeon Masters have in store for you when you come to D&D in a Castle.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jason, and we'll see you at the castle.
Thank you, Tara. It was too short.